Hey everyone, so welcome back to another Plan With Me video where we draw my reading bullet journal for the month. I am actually starting off with both my journals just because last month I asked you if you liked seeing a flip through of what my life journal looks like since I don't film that process, and you guys loved it, so we're doing that again. I did a Marvel / WandaVision / comic book theme for the month of March in my life journal. I just feel like WandaVision really took over in a good way. I was absolutely obsessed with it. It was incredible. I loved it so much. Obviously, my boyfriend and I started a podcast around it, so it was a cool experience, and it was ending this month, so I wanted to just have a spread kind of dedicated to that. Originally, it was just going to be a comic book theme, but then I leaned kind of heavily on the WandaVision stuff. And I did leave a few blank pages because I wasn't entirely finished, but I did want to show you just the basics of it, just to show you the flip through. But yeah, besides that, let's actually get into my reading bullet journal. Since March has St. Patty's Day in it, I did want to do a theme kind of around that in some way. I feel like I have a lot of people in my life that love to celebrate St. Patrick's Day for one reason or another, so I always end up celebrating a little bit more than I thought I would. But I didn't want it to be just like a straightforward St. Patrick's Day, like clovers and luck of the Irish kind of thing. I mean, even though that would have been fun as well, but I wanted something to go still along with some of the things I've been interested in lately, and one of those things has definitely been crystals. Just the meanings, I guess, behind them and the properties and how they're supposed to help you, and honestly, how beautiful they are. I mean, I've always been really into rocks in general, not even just crystals, just rocks. But I feel like this was a logical next step for me. Sorry. But I have seen some spreads like this before, just not in the way that I did it. I really wanted the crystals to have a very raw look to them, not very finished or anything like that. So it was kind of hard to find shapes for that, and I did sketch it out again beforehand because I knew it was going to be so difficult. I actually went over it and outlined them using my acrylograph markers from Archer and Olive. I actually thought that would be the best option for this, but I did explore some different options when I did the outlining later on in the spread, just because the way that I have to color over them wasn't the best, I guess, I don't know, it got like muddy for some reason, you'll see. But right here I'm actually just filling out the days of the month because this is my days read spread, which is the spread I use to kind of track what days I've read, as you've expected. And I tried to make the days look like little gemstones. I don't know if I entirely succeeded in it, but I think in the end you can kind of tell what I was going for, and that's really the point. But now we're actually just shading in the crystals. I did try to have a reference picture, but it wasn't entirely helpful since the shapes I chose weren't those shapes. So I ended up getting rid of it and just trying my best, which, I mean, it wasn't perfect, but it's okay. I think that in the end, everything kind of comes together, but while I was doing it, it was very difficult. And I did just actually use a mix between my Tombow dual brush pens and the Crayola Super Tips to color in the crystals. I did want them to be filled out in marker just because I think that the spreads I've seen before, they've done it that way, and they did such a good job with it. I don't think I succeeded as much, but I did my best. And as for the titles, I really went a very simple, blocky route with them. I just wanted the main focus to be on the actual like crystals in the spread and not to even think about the writing itself. So that's why it's pretty plain. I did use cursive only when I wrote out days read. I just feel like it would have been weird if they were both blocky, if that makes any sense. I normally like to have two fonts running at the same time when I do spreads, but this one really was almost all of that blocky, very simple, thin line font that I made. But yeah, on to the next spread. So this one was, or is, going to be my hauled and TBR spreads. I added a lot of stones to trace out for this one, And you'll notice throughout this video, my battery ended up dying so many times. I don't know if maybe my batteries are starting to just get a little old and maybe I should get some new ones, or if I really was drawing for that long. I guess we'll find out when I do my next bullet journal video, but I didn't feel like I was taking that long, and right there, that transition I did was because my battery had died and I hadn't even noticed. But yeah. Also, just to note, I did link all of my materials that I used down below just in case you're curious about it. I feel like I ended up using quite a few materials for this spread, so if you have any curiosity about what those are or anything like that, just check down there. And yeah, there's not much to say about this one. I just did a lot of coloring and shading and doing my best. I feel like I rediscover this every single time I color anything in, but you should start with your lightest shade and then add very little of the darkest shade, and that will be the best situation. But I didn't really do it that way, so it's trial and error, and this one does change quite a lot in between right now and the end, so I guess we can just sit back and watch and enjoy the show. When I first had finished up this spread, I actually thought that I hated it, and now seeing it from this perspective, I think that I love all of the detail in this. It just looks so glowy and fun. So at least there's that. But now we're moving on to my books read spread, and again, I just traced out all of the gemstones, but this time I actually went in using some gel pens that I had and also some fine liner pens that I have. I think the fine liners were the ones that worked best in the end, just because they're the ones that will blend the easiest with whatever shade you're going in with. So whether it be like a darker cast or a lighter cast, it will blend much easier obviously than like a gel pen or a paint pen, just because those don't blend. Yeah, I should have noticed that sooner, but I didn't, so again, you live and you learn. But now it's just more of the same. I'm sorry, I feel like this one is kind of a boring voiceover to do, but oh my gosh, I haven't even told you why I decided to do this spread for St. Patty's Day. I mean, I feel like initially it's obvious just because all of the crystals are green, but when I was first looking up crystals to draw, I came across a post on Pinterest that was saying like crystals for luck, and there were 3 different crystals that are all shades of green that can be used for luck or to attract luck or protection in some way or another in your life, and I am in need of some luck, and that's kind of where everything tied together for me, because yeah, I mean, they're crystals for luck. St. Patty's Day is green as well and lucky in some ways. I'm not sure, you know, I just needed some luck. There is a lot of stuff going on right now, actually. Let's do a little bit of a life update since there's not much else going on while I'm drawing, but I have a lot of big things changing very quickly right now, and they're things that I didn't really expect. I will probably talk more about it as I find out more about what's going on, but it's nothing serious. It's just things that are stressful for me and things that I would rather not have to do, obviously. I avoid stress and I avoid I was about to say, and I avoid stress. I avoid stress and I avoid change at all costs, because I feel like for me, even when life is fairly simple, I'm still overwhelmed. So when things get stressful, I'm even more overwhelmed, and I just need some luck, need some focus, need some anything, really. I guess all of the above would be cool, and hopefully having all of these crystals and the good vibes they're trying to give me in my journal will help out, you know? I don't know. That's probably not how it works, but I was actually flopping right there because I had just finished drawing out the acrylograph and I didn't want it to like bleed onto its opposite page when I closed the pages. So yeah, now we're doing my kind of like brain dump / favorite book area for the month. I've been loving doing this kind of outline thing that I did for my first spread, the one in January, and again I went in with washi tape to just kind of make them really crisp, and I wanted it to just look like a really cool like crystal border. This was really difficult. I went in a few times to change things, so we're gonna be sitting here for a minute watching this happen, but I think that ultimately it ends up looking pretty cool. This spread is weird because technically it's not hard to do, it's just time consuming. So yeah, if you ever think of doing something like this, just know it takes some time, and that'll be that. Oh, also, we're gonna go back and do my cover page after these ones are done, so if you have been wondering about that, that's what's gonna happen, so stay tuned. The crystals that I actually drew surrounding my favorite book are definitely my favorite that I made for the entire spread, which I guess makes sense because I absorbed all the knowledge of doing all my lighter colors and outlining them in the fine liner instead of the gel pens and stuff like that. So it makes sense. I just think they looked really, really cool in the end, and they're definitely my favorite. I wish all the other ones had kind of looked more like this, but that's okay. That's okay. I do actually mess up soon when I'm trying to do the title for my favorite book. So if you're wondering why the acrylograph ends up looking the way it does, that's why. And now I did go back to the normal speed just to peel off the washi tape because I always find it incredibly satisfying, and I hoped you guys would too. After finishing, I realized that it still looked unfinished in a way, and I thought it would look cooler if like the gemstones were growing out into the brain dump area, almost like it was surrounding it really and not just being a border. And I kind of wish I'd done this all along, that way the shading would have been better and more matched up together, but I still think that it looks pretty good, even if the shading wasn't exact, you know? So what happened here, what I think happened, is the acrylograph had dried a little since I hadn't been using it in a few hours, and when I went to press down, a lot of the ink came out at the same time. So to fix that, I just kind of made it look like it was supposed to be that way, and then I just drew over it in the white to make it like a background. And now we're finally getting onto the cover page, and for this one, I really wanted it to just kind of look like the descriptions of the gemstones and things like that. So I wrote out the title, which is Crystals for Luck. I do also have my iPad in front of me because I had the Pinterest post pulled up so that I could copy down the descriptions and things like that and actually make the shading fairly accurate for the gemstones that I chose, since I tried to do that for all of the spreads, but I really think that it's hard to tell which one's which and things like that. I can't even tell which one's which, so I just tried to at least make this part accurate. And I'm just starting off by sketching out the shape again. And there are 3 greenish stones that I'd seen on this post, the first of which was green aventurine, which is supposed to be like the manifestor stone, and it's a stone of luck when taking a chance in life or in a competition, which, you know, felt fairly accurate to what I'm going through, I guess. The second one was, I don't know how to pronounce this, chrysoprase, which is for luck in employment and applying for finance or a new job. And the last was jade, which reverses bad luck or fortune, brings luck, especially in love. I guess I don't necessarily need the especially in love part, but I definitely want it to reverse bad luck and bring good luck in. So I, again, tried to make the shading as accurate as I could. Jade tends to be more of like a deeper, earthier green. The chrysoprase that I had seen was a little bit more like aqua and fun, like very bright green colors, while the green aventurine was muted in some ways. So I just did my best to have a similar kind of look to them and still make them look like raw crystals as well, because the ones that I'd been seeing were ones that had already been tumbled, so they were like smooth stones for the post, so I had to go looking. But yeah, I like how you can actually see like a little shamrock and it says crystals for luck on my iPad. That's funny. That wasn't the one I was looking at, but yeah, that's it. So now for the flip through. This spread was definitely one of my more tedious ones to do, and one of the ones that I made the most mistakes in, but I think that the end result looks pretty freaking cool. I mean, I like it a lot at least, and I guess that's all that matters, so I hope you guys like it too. And I do like the meaning behind this one. I feel like it's a lot more relevant to like my life and just things that I would want to focus on. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you want to leave an emoji, leave a shamrock, and I'll see you in my next one. Goodbye!
What beautiful creature.